Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Good to be here again. This is live class with Kate Okoli. Thank you for joining me today, wherever you are, all over the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click on the subscription link, and then you'll see the notification bell, and also click on the notification bell. I think the first one, so that whenever I come online, you'll be notified. Thank you for joining this broadcast today. I appreciate you. Thank you. Please watch this video to the end. Okay, and if at the end of the day you actually enjoy the video, please always give me a thumbs up, share the video, tell people about this platform. We're trying to, as much as possible, build this platform so that the resources can reach out to as many people as possible, so that they can partake of, obviously, to be able to empower women and also men also. There's a lot to learn from this platform, as a matter of fact, So today I'm going to be talking about compassion. The last time, my video of the yesterday, I talked about empathy. In a way, empathy and compassion, somehow they intertwine. It's like a person that has compassion always empathizes, always puts other people in their position, so they feel other people's pain. So somehow, when these two nouns they are being used, somehow you can use them, they just cut across the border. So sometimes you're talking about somebody who has compassion, and you say the person has compassion because obviously they empathize with other people. They put other people in there. They put themselves in other people's shoes, so they have that feeling of compassion. So a person who has compassion is a sympathetic person, and shows concern for the suffering or misfortune of others. So it's like when you see people suffering, you see people in pain, you see people, maybe they are unwell, they are sick in hospital, or they or something bad happened to them, and then you begin to feel that compassion for them. You feel their sufferings, you empathize with them, you understand. So this feeling of you are sympathetic, and you feel pity and concern for the suffering of others. Like, for example, the less privileged, maybe homeless people. You understand, people who are in orphanages and things like that. So you feel that compassion. You are kind of driven to want to do something about the person or the group of people suffering, in order to minimize their suffering. So you realize that people with compassion also are people who they give a lot. They give out a lot of money. They give out their time. They are into charity work and all of that, because they have that feeling of compassion in them. So to have compassion is to empathize with someone who is suffering, and to feel compelled to reduce the suffering of that person. You see, so when you have compassion, you're able to put yourself in other people's shoes, to empathize with them, and to find that it's not just only empathizing. In fact, that people who have compassion, a lot of times they want to reduce the suffering of others. When they see somebody suffering and they sympathize with that person, or they empathize with the person, they take additional steps to want to reduce the suffering of that person or group of people. Compassion is when you relate to someone's situation. Relating with someone's situation is being empathetic. So there's empathy. Relating is like, even sometimes you realize that for people who have that compassion, they may have also gone through the same kind of suffering that other people are suffering. So they can actually relate with it when they see somebody suffering. So they don't forget their past. They don't forget where they are coming from. So they want to sympathize and to put also to relate with the sufferings of others, especially if they themselves have passed through that kind of suffering in the past. So who are you? What kind of a person are you? Are you a kind of person that perhaps maybe after you've gone through a particular bad experience, years down the line, when you see others going through that same experience, that same pain and suffering, you kind of forget how you have suffered or experienced that same thing in the past and you don't feel anything for the person? Or are you a better person who has compassion, who can relate with other people's suffering, especially if you've gone through that kind of suffering, and then you want to, and then as a result of that, you're not passionate. You look for a way to reduce the suffering of others. You understand? You see someone in trouble and you feel like pitching in. For example, you might want to help someone pick up their groceries if they drop their shopping basket on the floor. You're always quick to want to help. You see sometimes someone crying, you walk up to them, maybe at the train station, you want to know, how can you help to reduce the pain or to find out how you can help that person or the reason why the person is crying or shedding tears. When people are bereaved, you want to kind of, visit them, to console them, to grieve with them in order to reduce their pain and their grief. So, who are you? What kind of a person are you? You understand? I think to be a person with compassion is also something that can be you can do it intentionally. It can be practiced. It's a skill that you can master, and then it becomes part of you by being able to feel other people's pain, by being able to be intentional, to look out for people who are suffering, to be able to say, okay, what do I do to reduce the suffering of this person or this group of people? You understand? So you might even be sleeping and you are thinking, who am I going to actually help now? Especially, let's say, for example, you are abroad and you are in your mind's eye, you are thinking, who in Africa are you going to help? What organization am I going to obviously help? Maybe send some money, carrying out philanthropic work in order to reduce the suffering and the pain of others. Let's say, for example, what is going on right now in Ukraine, you know, and I saw there's an advert asking people that if they have extra rooms in their homes to accommodate the refugees who are actual people, like, refugees who are fleeing their war zone or things like that. So that is again the feeling of compassion. You understand? And there are people who are really gifted with this spirit of compassion that if they don't carry out that work of charity, they become very uncomfortable. They begin to, have sleepless nights. And until they carry out that work of charity, their spirit will not be at rest. You understand? So it is very important also that even if we try to kind of feel indifferent about other people's suffering, other people's pain, perhaps by the time you watch this video, you begin to understand the importance. That's what humanity is all about. To have compassion, to feel others people's, not just to feel other people's pain or just to talk about it, but also to take additional steps to say, what am I going to do to reduce the suffering and the pain of this person or group of people? You understand? Empathy means that you feel what a person is feeling. Compassion is the willingness to relieve the suffering of another. So you see, empathy, you feel what the person is feeling. You can relate with the hardship of the hardship the person is going through. Compassion takes additional steps, not only to feel, but to also take additional steps to see to it that you reduce or you minimize the suffering of that person or group of person. You understand? So now, how do you show compassion? How do you show compassion? How do you show compassion? There are several ways as humans that we can show compassion. You understand? Like I gave an example of the obviously the refugees who are fleeing the war in Ukraine, and there's an advert saying that obviously if you have extra room in your family, that you can obviously open your doors to these refugees so that you can accommodate them. So you can show compassion by opening your door to someone who is homeless, by accommodating the person, by reducing the suffering of the person, by providing food for the homeless. You understand? By providing food for the homeless, by building hostels also for the homeless, to so obviously they can have. You find out that a lot of the charity organizations here in the UK, they have hostels where they accommodate homeless people. You see, that is a obviously these are concepts that a group of people sit down and they decide to pull resources together to put these things in place in the community in order to help the less privileged. You know, another way, you can also show compassion either in action or in words. You can motivate people through the words by encouraging them, making them understand that it's not over until it's over. Giving them words of encouragement, calling them to find out how they are, motivating them to say, you know what, you can do it. You're not a failure. It is not over until it's over. Go out there to get a job, signposting them to places where they can get appropriate help and appropriate advice if it means a legal advice. Like for me, I'm a solicitor practicing here in the UK. Sometimes I give a client a free advice, especially for clients who perhaps they are not working and they actually need that advice ASAP to help their situation. Maybe the family has been brought to the attention of the social services. I give all of that free advice, even sometimes taking additional steps to attend court on their behalf, just to be able to see if their children can be released to the family, so the children can be reintegrated back into the family home. Those little things that will help people to minimize their sufferings also. And you find out that for women also who are experiencing domestic violence, giving them free legal advice also is something I do also, here in the UK, giving them free advice, giving them the support, giving them also signposting them to other organizations who can also help and provide them with accommodation. There was actually a time I was working towards kind of having a hostel where I can accommodate like a refuge where I can accommodate women who are fleeing domestic violence. You understand? This was before the lockdown, and I just put everything on hold. I was actually working towards it seriously before in the past. I pray hopefully that maybe in the future, in the nearest future, I'll go back to fulfilling, to find out how I can fulfill that dream also. You see, practicing acts of kindness is another way of showing compassion. Practicing acts of kindness. Kindness can be in your words, in your action, in giving to people. It doesn't necessarily have to be family members, close family members, even giving to strangers. You understand? Giving a zakat, like, giving gifts of money to strangers, buying them lunch, paying for their lunch, preparing meals, and also maybe going to the homeless units and then providing them with those meals. Those are acts of kindness that also there are ways you can show compassion to people. Share a hug or a handshake. You cannot underestimate, or neither can I overemphasize the importance of hugging. When you hug people, you make them to really feel wanted. It's like reassuring. It gives them that confidence. It makes them know that you care about them. You understand that you are there with them. You can feel their pain and all of that. So giving hugs here and there to children, even to grown-ups, to men, to women, to reassure them, especially in their times of difficulty, that can go a long way to help them in their times of crisis. Um, Also, the little thank you here and there, showing appreciation, saying thank you to people. Because not everybody have that spirit in them to show gratitude. There are people that, even no matter what people others do to them, they are never grateful. So being able to say thank you to people, you don't know how it feels, especially for me as a practicing lawyer here in the UK. Maybe after 3, 4, 5 years of handling a client's case, and then lo and behold, from nowhere, the client just reappears in my office to say, "Madam, I just brought this, to for you to say thank you to you." Sometimes it's just a simple box of chocolates and a thank you card. You understand? You don't know how important, and obviously, it just kind of it makes you want to do more. So that's an act of compassion, saying thank you, showing showing gratitude to people when they do. Well, obviously, when they have done something to you, either professionally or in other categories. You understand? Helping people with their to-do list. Sometimes people, they don't know where to start. They don't know how they are not organized enough. Maybe sitting them down and helping them to draft their to-do list. These are acts of compassion. You understand? Telling people that you love them, telling people just simple words of saying, "Oh, you look beautiful," acts of affirmation, telling people you look beautiful. So those words of kindness, you never know that that's little affirmation, that's "you look beautiful," that you've told that, especially for women. Maybe she hasn't had that in for the past 10 years, even not from her husband or even her children. Trying to make her feel wanted and letting her understand how beautiful she is and all of that. It actually gives them that feeling of gives people that feeling of um, reassurance and confidence. You see. So the key difference between love and compassion is that the love is a deep feeling of affection and attachment towards someone, whereas compassion is a sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortune of others. You don't necessarily have to be close to people. They don't need to necessarily have to be your family members before you can show compassion to them. You understand? So even though compassion comes from a heart of love, but there's no deep affection or feeling of affection or sensual feeling in the feeling of when you feel compassion for people. You don't necessarily have to have any sexual intimacy with people before you can show them compassion. The fact that they are humans, the fact that they are humans. Also, do you realize that even with animals, you also have to show them a level of compassion? So by not being cruel to them, or maybe you see an animal suffering, you see a dog that was knocked down on the motorway. You understand? Maybe the dog is trying to cross the motorway to the other side of the street, and then obviously the dog now gets knocked down. So being able to help out that dog by calling RSPCA to be able to so that they can come and pick up that dog and obviously attend to the injuries in order to save the life of that dog. So compassion um, and empathy should also be shown not only to humans but also to animals. It's very important. You see, very important. So love and compassion are two positive feelings that help to make the world a better place. What can we do in this world without love and compassion? You see, it is said that love makes the world go round. What is it that we as humans, what is it that we want to do in this world without love and without compassion? There's basically nothing that is achievable by us in this world without love and compassion. Love makes the world go round. I remember Madonna, the American songstress. There's this her song, "Make love, not war," we say. Mm, 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 mm. Those days when Madonna was really, really like really bubbling. You understand? Love makes the world go round. Love makes the world go round. Love makes the world go round. I think I'm missing the I'm missing the tune now. I'm singing off tune now. Yeah, obviously you get the drift, isn't it? Love makes the world go round. You know, the power of love is greater than the love for power. Love makes the world go round. You understand? So love and compassion, if only we have, we can begin to imbibe this emotion of love and compassion in every single one of our lives, the world would have been a better place. We will not be even thinking about the war going on in Ukraine now. It is a lack of love and compassion that causes places like Ukraine to now be riddled with bullets and bombs and things like that. You understand? So love makes the world go round. Love is a beautiful thing. There are four ways also to give yourself compassion skills and and a quick boost. Like, let's say, for example, you never learned or practiced the act of compassion. There are ways you can intentionally master it, so that, because the more you are sowing that seed of compassion into the lives of many, the universe will continue to bless you. The universe will continue. It's like sowing positive seeds into the life of people. It will come back to you. Positive things will begin to happen. Doors will begin to open unto you. And I keep telling people the greatest prayer, or the greatest seed that we can sow in our lives that will germinate positive things is the seed of love and compassion. To do unto others just as we want others to do unto us. Feeling the pain of others, loving people unconditionally, removing jealousy from friendships and relationships, always wishing people well, investing time in people in order to mitigate their sufferings. So there are ways you can obviously give yourself compassion. You can give yourself compassion skills. One of the ways is to comfort your body. Eat something healthy. Write a letter to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Eat something healthy. Take care of your body. Be kind to yourself. Say positive things to yourself. Positive affirmations. I am beautiful. I am courageous. I am the original. There is no one like me upon the face of the earth. I am beautifully and wonderfully made. Show some kindness to yourself. Be fair to yourself. When people pay compliment to you, accept it. Stop giving in the past, before, when somebody says to me, you are beautiful, I will now like want to start saying, oh, are you sure? Like, maybe if somebody says, oh, your dress is really beautiful, I'll say, oh, are you sure? It's not so I'll start giving explanations as to, oh, it's not so expensive like you said. No, I don't do that anymore. I'm beautiful from head to toe. I'm a celebrity lawyer. You understand? I'm a black beauty. So show yourself some love. Show yourself some compassion. Write a love letter to yourself. Think of a situation that caused you to feel pain. A breakup with a lover, a divorce, a sickness that almost took your life, a loss of job, a poorly received presentation, betrayal by friends, backstabbing by loved ones. Think about it and think of how God was able to rescue you from the betrayal, from the backstabbing. Enjoy life to the fullest. You are still alive upon the face of the earth. It's a privilege. So be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Never ever think that you are ugly. Never ever think that you are a loser. that things are not working well for you right now. It's just a time of your life. Things are going to get better. It is not over until God says it is over. So be compassionate to yourself. Because if you show yourself compassion, then you'll be able to extend that compassion to others. Now, what does God say about compassion? The Bible says that the Lord is gracious and righteous and full of compassion. The Lord is gracious and righteous and is full of compassion. You know, yesterday I was talking about, I was giving an example of how compassionate Jesus Christ is. That after how he fed the 5,000, after they came and gathered and he preached to them at the end of the day, it is reported that he looked at the crowd with compassion. Instead of sending them away, he asked them to sit down and he asked how many loaves of fishes and bread do they have? No matter, despite how small it is, it went around the whole of the 5,000 people. You understand? He was a compassionate man. He was a compassionate man. He cried when people cried. He grieved when people grieved. I was always looking for how to make life better for people. That was why he was going about healing the sick, making the crippled to walk. Wherever there is lack, he provided. Remember the wedding where he went, they ran out of wine. He turned water into wine so that they will have enough during that feast to go around the whole guest at the wedding. He was a man of compassion. So, how do you practice compassion as a person? If this is your first time, you never thought of it before, you have always been selfish, always thinking about yourself, not minding the suffering of people, begin to have a rethink, begin to have a change of mindset. Try to have the qualities of a compassionate person. So, the qualities of a compassionate person are patience and wisdom. Patience and wisdom. If you are not patient, you cannot be compassionate because a lot of times you might actually lose your patience in trying to help others. Because if you're not patient, even as you try to help others, never expect that they will reciprocate that love. So it is your patience that carries you through, even in those times when you try to help people and they turn around to throw that kindness right back at you. So you have to be a patient person, and you have to also be a person of wisdom, because it's understanding that it is not everybody, it is not everywhere you sow a seed of kindness that you get that kindness will be reciprocated back to you. You must be a person of kindness and perseverance. You must have warmth and be receptive to people. You have to be accommodative. To be a person of compassion is not rocket science. It's something you have to practice. It is possible. It is possible. It's something you can master, especially if you are intentional. You want to be a better person. If in the past you've not been a person of compassion, try it within now the next 6 months, and you see how your life will become your life will become better. And you see things will begin to work for you, doors will begin to open for you. Sow seed into the lives of people, the less privileged. Cry when people are crying. Never rejoice when people are crying. Cry when people are crying. Rejoice with people when they are rejoicing. And then you see the difference. You see things will begin to open up for you. Don't rejoice at other people's suffering. So the question remains, why is it important for you to be compassionate? Compassion is shown to improve your health and wellness also because of its ability to drive meaningful interaction. In trying to sow the seed of compassion into people, even it gives you good health because you become happier. You don't have any grudge or bitterness on the inside of you. Your spirit is lifted up. You have a pure spirit. So, in trying to show compassion, also, you become healthy. It drives the doctors away. You will not have headache. You will not have sleepless nights. You're not thinking about how to hurt anybody or how to harm anybody, or you're not rejoicing in your bed thinking of the sufferings of others. All you think is that kindness, that compassion. How can you help? How can you invest into the life of others? Compassion pushes you to address inequalities, cruelty, and the struggle of others. So when you see others suffering, you see the less privileged. You see where a woman is being oppressed, she's a victim of domestic violence. You address it. You become an advocate. Either an advocate for women, an advocate for children, an advocate even for the sufferings of men. It only takes a compassionate person to feel the pains of others, to feel the inequalities in the society, to think of how there's going to be a transformation and a change in the community. Compassion. Compassion also encourages us to be kind. It allows us to see others and how we can help them or hold space for them. Now we're in the month of April. Who in this is the fourth month of the year 2022. How many people have you shown compassion to? How many people have you shown kindness to? Let's even start from the home. For married couples, you need to outsmart or outwit each other with kindness because it is said that charity begins at home. You don't want a situation whereby you are cruel to your husband or to your wife at home, and then you go out, the people are saying, oh, this man is extremely very kind. This man is extremely very responsible. This man is very gentle. Or this woman is very kind. She's a philanthropist. Meanwhile, you are not showing that compassion and kindness to your husband or to your children. That will be seen as eye service. So start that act of compassion and kindness right from your home. Start it right from your home. So what kinds of action shows the compassion? Listening. Listening and communication with sincerity. Say somebody calls you up. They want to talk. Maybe there's a crisis going on in their home. So they call you up. You have to find time. Leave every other thing you are doing. Is a sacrifice. Maybe that's listening alone can save that person from going to commit suicide or from going to do something drastic that will affect the whole family. Always have a listening ear. Always listening to people. And in listening, don't be judgmental. And in listening, don't be cynical or sarcastic. And in listening, don't take that thing that that person has spoken to you in confidence and then spread it around or make it a point of a point of laughter where you begin to jest about it or you now want to use it against that person because the person confided in you in their time of need because they just wanted to talk. So give a listening ear. There are times in my office, usually the consultation hour, normally we say to clients the consultation hour, it's 1 hour. Normally, first time consultation, 1 hour. But most times when it comes to cases of women that are experiencing domestic violence, cases of child abuse, cases of families that their children have been, the families have been brought to the attention of social services, I take my extra time to listen to such cases, even if it has passed that 1 hour. I don't rush the client. I don't want them to think that I'm attentive listening, and I allow them to actually pour out their hearts. I try as much as possible not to interject. The only time I interject is sometimes I want a clarification as to the storyline or whatever it is that happened. Maybe I want a clarification as to the date and the time when such incidents happened. You understand? Years ago, I was in the office and I saw some two women. They were looking distressed through the office glass and they were pressing the doorbell. And I quickly rushed and opened the door and they came in. And then one of them now said, "Hey, this is the lawyer I'm telling you about. This is the lady we saw her then before social media days. We used to pay on some of the television stations here in the UK to present programs and things like that, and to give advice online. You see, so they came in and I was like, what's going on? What's going on?" And the story started. They said, "Oh, the woman's the social service has actually handed over her two toddlers to her estranged husband." I said, "What happened? Why would they do that? How old are the children?" And she said the youngest one is 9 months old. I was like, why would any social worker do that? Take a 9 month old child from the mother to give to a father who perhaps might not have the skills to take care of the child, and the child was still breastfeeding. So immediately I pounced into action, took the number of the social worker, called, and all obviously the story actually changed. The social worker was now saying to me, "Your client is the abuser, and we have all the proof. She's not a suitable mother. We don't, there are instances and evidences of neglect. So we decided that the children will be safer with their father. We have all the evidences. You need to sit your client down to let us tell you the truth, tell you everything that transpired, because she's actually not telling the truth." I was a bit like taken aback because the phone was on speaker. And I thanked the social worker, went off the phone and asked this lady, "Is everything you've had, is it true?" She said, "Oh, well, somehow, yes." So I said, "Okay, start all over again from the beginning. Tell me exactly what happened." And that was how she was able to now divulge to me what transpired between her and her husband, and the reason why the children's services intervened and took the children from her and handed over custody of the children to the husband. Anyway, the summary of it is that when I now knew the truth, I took my time. She did not pay me any consultation fee. I knew it was an emergency. She was distressed. She needed to see her children. I took my time, arranged a kind of conference, and then started mediating between her and her husband, to the extent that at least, he allowed her some couple of days to be able to have contact with the children. And they were not able to settle informally out of court. You see, so if I did not take my time to listen to that woman that day, perhaps if I was more particular about, "Oh, you did not come, you did not book an appointment, I didn't know you were coming, you have to pay my consultation fees," and all of that, a lot of things would have gone wrong. But I waived all of that because I knew it has to do with children, it has to do with family. I exercised a level of compassion. I gave my listening ear. I spent more than 3 hours with them on that day. And then obviously the next day, they also visited, and we continued from there because I had to call the estranged husband, introduce myself, and try to see how we can negotiate to meet at least midway to see how she can at least access the children. So we're talking about compassion. She may not have paid me that day. She may not have come into the office that day with an appointment. But I went home that day feeling really, really actualized. I felt as if I won the lottery. Because why? Because I had impacted. I've used my professional platform to be able to assist the family, to bring the family back together. That again, obviously, is It's greater than silver and gold. That cannot be quantified monetarily. You understand? So these are the levels of, these are the kind of things, being able to have to listen to somebody, being able to listen. There have been times where we've been called by even families where there's a crisis and you hear the woman screaming and shouting, saying, "No, I'm going to do this to my husband. The husband is going to do that." And then me and my husband, we've left every other thing we are doing and we've rushed, traveling over 30, 45 minutes to get to the family in order to try and intervene so that things don't go wrong, because there are children involved. So these are the little things. So even you don't have to be a lawyer or a doctor to do things. When sometimes your friends call you to say there's a crisis in their marriage, there's a reason why they have chosen you to call you. Do something about it. There's something I realized, I noticed actually, why the rate of divorce, especially in that amongst diaspora, why it's so high. There are no third parties who are really interested in families. There are no third parties who are interested in making sure that a husband and wife, they resolve issues and they are together. I realize that it looks as if there's so much competition and envy and jealousy and rivalry amongst Africans in diaspora. So it's like saying that, okay, you know what? When they see a couple who are together and they are moving forward, they are doing very well, it will appear that it's like there's competition. Everybody's saying, anyway, my own will not break. If your own breaks, that's one down, and I'm going to my own family will be better than you. So there's that silent competition among the black people in diaspora. I don't know about America, but I'm talking about London here, where I'm based, and it is really not good. One of the reasons why families are breaking up here in diaspora, there are no good friends and family members around married couples. There are no good friends and family members. They are not interested in seeing that they bring about a reconciliation. So, like when either their friend who is a man goes to talk to them or the woman opens up to them, they don't take their time to sacrifice their time to invest their time. They're not compassionate enough to see that let's follow up this family because we've all left home. It's not like as if in Nigeria you could call a sister or call an auntie or call an uncle and they will rush and try and invite the couples to say, okay, sit down, let's try and help people to resolve issues. But in diaspora, it is so lonely. So if you don't have a group of friends, a group of good friends who are really interested in the progress of your family, if you don't have such, if you have friends who are just jolly good fellow, who are friends for benefits. You understand? They are only friends who you can invite when there's a party. You have party and you are entertaining and all of that. You understand? If those are the kind of friends you have, pray not to have problems in your marriage because there will be nobody, no matter how much you call them, they're not going to respond to you. They'll become cynical, even though your family will become a center of gossip. And that is why you see now, because the couples cannot get people informally to help them resolve their issues, they end up in courts. Because when they now come to a lawyer like me, it's okay, I want a divorce. But this is what I do most of the times also. When couples come to me, maybe the husband or the wife, most times women, when they come to me to say, I want to divorce, I want to apply for a divorce, I first of all sit them down to say, what really is the matter? Is it not something that we can resolve? Especially when it's not something that has to do with domestic violence. So there's no threat to your life. Is it something we can resolve? Why don't we invite the man over to obviously hear? Obviously, I'm a lawyer. If you pay me to apply for divorce on your behalf, I'll get paid. I can just get paid filing the divorce proceedings and all of that. I can't be bothered. But that humane part of me that understands that it is deeper, it is greater than money. There's no amount of money that you will take from a client that will be greater than bringing that family together. Because we're not only talking about the husband and wife, we're talking about the children. We're talking about the grandchildren because crisis in families, it's foundational and it becomes generational, if not nipped at the bud. So if you allow the family to break, the husband and wife, they go their separate ways. The man is hurting, the woman is hurting, the children also are hurting. It's going to affect both the man, the woman, the children, even up onto the grandchildren. And it reflects on the society because family is the bedrock of every successful society. A thriving family is the bedrock of every successful society. So I try as much as possible in my own little corner to say, okay, is there a way we can resolve this? Years ago, a woman contacted me to say, oh, she was a victim. Her husband locked her out. I'm like, why will he do that? Where does he think he is? In where you just lock a woman out and all of that. What do you want? Do you still want the marriage? She said, yeah, you still love the man. Yes. So let's call him and see what we can do to kind of bring the two of you together. And then she gave me the man's number. I called him and introduced myself, told him I'm with the wifey and everything. That can we arrange a meeting and all of that? And then we arranged a meeting and he came to the office. And I was saying to him, see this woman, she's suffering. She wants to see her son. You took the son away. This is not done. It's not going to be in your best interest if this matter goes to court. You don't lock a woman out. This is not Africa. This is the UK. You don't do that. You don't lock a woman out because she's vulnerable. You don't lock a woman out and take her 4-year-old son and think that everything is okay. It's not done. Let's resolve all of this amicably so the authorities don't get involved. But he did not want to listen. He said he doesn't care, even if the authorities are involved. She's not going to come into his house. The house is in his name, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, you can't do that. You can't kick a woman out, take her young son from her, and then you think that obviously you must face the consequences. And definitely he faced the consequences at the end of the day because the woman was reinstated back into the family home because the judge gave an ultimatum. As a matter of fact, the judge actually said to me, Mr. Coley, you're not going to go home today until your client is reinstated back into the family home. I got home that day at about 12 midnight because it was a long process. We had to get the order from the judge, got the stamp, went and served the nearest police station, served the school a copy, went to the home, checked out for the man, served him with a copy of that order and all of that. So it was a long process. The police were involved, and then at the end of the day, we reinstated the woman back. That was when it actually dawned on this man that, this is not Africa. You can't take the laws into your hand. You don't kick a woman out of the house. I don't care whether you brought her, you were the one that paid for her ticket and you brought her into the country, or you are the one that bought the house. It doesn't matter. That is emotional. That is emotional and psychological abuse. You can't do that. The thing with a lot of us also, when we come here, we don't want to change our pattern. We still take that pattern of lawlessness to want to operate in a setting where everything is organized and where the law is workable. So the application of the laws, especially when it comes to issues that has to do with the rights of women, it is taken seriously here in the UK. Anyway, now I'm talking like a lawyer. Let me be as informal as possible. Let me go back to the I'm talking about compassion. I think why I remember this case now is the importance of helping people, going out of your way. Sometimes everything is not about money. One thing I noticed about that incident, the moment we went to the child's school, this child hadn't seen the mom for about like 1 month after that period. If you see the way that little boy screamed, "Mommy, mommy, 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 mommy," and he jumped, and everybody was like, "Oh my goodness." The mother was just crying. You understand? So being able to reunite families, giving, understanding the pain that people feel, and taking your time to say, okay, you know what? I will try to help to minimize the suffering of this woman and this child, because the child is innocent. He didn't ask to be born. He just found himself in a situation where mom and dad are fighting themselves. You understand? But the law continues to protect the rights of women. Now, sometimes I hear people also saying that, oh, all these women abroad, they kick their husbands out and they take over the husband. There's nothing like that. It is a misconception. There is no woman. The law favors men and favors women. And the law does not discriminate whether you're a man, whether you're a woman. As far as you are doing the right thing, the law will favor you. Whether you're a man, you're a woman. So it is a wrong misconception when people, I hear a lot of men in Nigeria, they say, oh, when you go to, as a matter of fact, there are some men, when they marry, even they are here in London, they leave their wives in Africa. And when you ask them, they say they are scared. I say, this woman, Waranya, this woman's eyes, her eyes are so sharp. If I bring her into the UK, she's going to kick me out of my house and take over my house. There is nothing like that. The only circumstance under which a man is asked to leave the family home is when there's an evidence that the man is abusing the woman. So when the man poses as a threat to his wife and children in the home environment, then he's now asked to leave. So the police cannot just come to your home as a man and now, even if your wife calls the police, even if she's lying, they will investigate. So there's nothing like that saying that, oh, all these women abroad, they're taking over their home. No, there's nothing like that. The only cases where you see a man being asked to leave his matrimonial home, there are evidences to show that the man is beating up the wife, the man is beating up the children, because the law is against violence. So they feel that if they continue to leave the man in that home, he may end up hurting the wife, killing the wife, or killing the children. So it's even safer for the man and the wife for them to be separated temporarily. So usually in cases like that, the man is advised to go and seek legal advice as to his true position. So if the moment the police have taken that action to say the man should leave the home temporarily, it's not something permanent. Temporarily leave the home, to de-escalate the tension in the home, at least also to protect the woman. And I must remind you also, there have been cases where the police are called. The woman herself is taken. She's uprooted from the home to leave the home for the man. And this is the reason. When the woman's life is in danger, when they see a real threat to the woman's life, if they leave her in that home and they take the man away, the man might come round another day, either with a gun or with a knife, and barge into the home and then hurt the woman, maybe kill the woman. So sometimes the police, they exercise that discretion. They actually decide to uproot the woman and the children from the home. That's why you see them, they now put them in a women's refuge. There are charities all over who have hostels and homes, residential homes, where they put women who are fleeing violence. So it's not in all cases that a man is actually asked to leave the home. There have been so many cases where some women also want to exploit the situation because they feel that, oh, the law is going to favor them. Sometimes they deliberately tell lies. When the police are called, they begin to investigate. Did he hit you? No. But I thought you said he hit you. And then she starts crying, oh, he did it. So then what did he do? Is there any mark, any sign to show that you were abused physically? No. Sorry. So your life is not threatened. Sometimes they can even say, okay, if it's a 2-bedroom apartment or a 3-bedroom apartment, you can They can have a communal place, like maybe the kitchen, where the two of them can have access to. So everybody stays separately stay in your own room. She stays in her own room. That's it, until matters are resolved. You understand? So it's not in all cases that when people hear that, oh, women in diaspora, they take over their husbands' properties. That no, no, there is nothing like that. The law is does not discriminate. But sometimes the law favors women more when they are victims of domestic violence. And you cannot just claim that you're a victim of domestic violence until you have evidential proof. So that evidential proof there has to be a police report, there has to be a medical report. Sometimes the children's services are involved. They can see that the children themselves are traumatized. You know that when there is instability in the homes, when the children go to school, they start acting up. So the teachers are also trained. They are also trained to be able to dictate, to notice that the pattern of this child is either the child becomes a little bit challenging in their behavior, seeking attention, becoming a little bit aggressive and out of order. So they will know that there's something going on the home front. So they now begin to ask questions. So they now call in the social services. And then they withhold the child. They invite the parents to the school to find out what's going on the home front. So also cases where, because I've also heard where people say, oh, the women are keeping the children away from the men before a decision is made that a man cannot access his child or his children. There must have been an evidence or evidences to show that that man has kind of exhibited a kind of a violent disposition. So either maybe violence has been experienced in the home, maybe the child has been beaten up by the man, or the child has actually experienced the mother being abused physically by the dad. So they try to now protect the child from that kind of violence by asking the man to leave. So it's not. So when I hear people say, "No, the women are not allowing their husbands to their estranged husbands to have access to their children and all of that," or the women are wicked. The government, the British government, is supporting the women. No, 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 no. Any man that you see that is not allowed to have access to his child or his children, there must be evidence of violence in that home. And the evidence is not by word of mouth. The woman can tell lies, even if the woman makes up the story, but they usually will investigate. By the time they investigate and they find out evidence, then they will ask the man to stay away. There have been cases that women have lied. In fact, there's actually a new law because this thing kept on like the women were now exploiting. There was this video of a man a couple of years ago. Thank God the man was so smart. He was recording everything that happened between him and his wife. The woman was pretending she was rolling on the floor, called the police and saying, "No, he's killing me, I'm dying." But the man was even far away from her. He wasn't close to her, but luckily he was smart enough. He was recording everything. So they now caught her. They knew she was lying, that the man did not do. That was very smart of the man. You understand? So in situations such as that, men are also advised that if you can record something just to show that you've not laid the finger on the woman, or you are not abusing her, you're not abusing the children. One thing we must realize, especially for men, once you get to Heathrow or any of the airports, you are here in the UK and you want to reside there, you must abide by the laws of the land. You must abide by, you don't break the laws. Because if you break the laws, it's not going to be favorable to you. If the law says don't lay a finger on your wife, don't lay a finger on your wife. And this also is applicable to the women. If a woman is abusive physically to the husband, she will be arrested and she will be detained. It can also earn her a criminal record, just like the man. So it's not only that the law is favoring men, favoring women. No, it's applicable to women also. Also, if a woman is found to be physically abusive to her children, the children will be taken away from her. That is the law. So it doesn't matter whether she's a woman or whether it's a man that is doing it. The children will be taken away. So we must abide by the laws. Now, going back to the topic for the day, we're talking about how to show compassion. So when we find ourselves as Black people in a society such as this, where we don't have that system that we're used to, where matters can be resolved between couples informally. We can call our auntie, our uncle, our parents to sit down and talk about how to address issues. When a friend calls you to say they're having a problem, listen to them. Don't be cynical. Don't be sarcastic. Don't be judgmental. Because it is lonely out here. It is very, very lonely. And when you have such issues here as a couple, you are calling the family members in Nigeria, they are going to advise you based on what is applicable in the Nigerian society. So sometimes that can be misleading. Like if, for example, you now call let's say you are a woman, and then let's say, for example, the man now calls the mom to say, oh, I'm obviously having an issue with my wife. I'm always helping her. I go to do the shopping. I know that the two of us will work. So sometimes I cook on Saturdays just to help her, because sometimes we share the house chores. The mom is going to say, what? My son, you are cooking for a woman. Hey, this woman has finished my son. No. She will not understand that it is the way the system works here. He needed to do it because they cannot afford a housemaid. To get an au pair here is expensive. So normally what couples do here, they work together to make things a little bit easier. So while the man is doing one thing, the woman is doing, so they even they pool resources together. So sometimes I wonder in Nigeria, it's like women in Nigeria, they actually expect their husband to financially to carry everything. It's different from what is obtainable in diaspora. In diaspora, it's almost like 50-50. The man brings his own resources, the woman brings it, because that way they can balance it, or else it can bring about resentment. It doesn't matter who is earning what. But where there's cooperation, you do your bit, I do my bit, and that way they are able to build together. But in Nigeria, a man can just carry the whole family. He'll build the house, he'll buy the cars, he'll buy the groceries, pay for the school fees, everything. The woman is just full-time housewife. Women in Nigeria, they are really oracle. They are the main MVPs of the marriage institution. They are enjoying. You understand? So back to the situation, like you go and tell your mom that as a man, you are entering into the kitchen to cook for a woman. Hey, your mom is going to say, hey, this woman has finished my son. No, what did she give to my son? Because she doesn't understand the way the system works here. So the kind of advice you are going to get from family members in Nigeria may be detrimental to the possibilities of you and your wife coming back together, because the system there is different. You cannot give an advice of a situation or a practice or tradition that's applicable in one country, and then you want to uproot that tradition and custom and bring it to a country where the practices is completely different. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So it is always better to seek advice within the environment of the people who understand the way the system works, because they will advise you based on their understanding of how the system works. So whatever it is that is happening between you and your husband, they understand how the system works. If you are in America or you are in anywhere in Europe, you are in London or anywhere, and you are going to take advice from your family members or in Nigeria, your marriage is going to break because they don't understand the way the system works here. It is not the same. It is not the same. The advice would have been go to a professional, a counselor to advise you. So now back to the show of compassion. So when your friends call you, or your if say you have two or three siblings in diaspora and they call you to say they're having crisis, please listen to them. And it's not just listening to them on a one-off. Follow it tentatively to make sure that at least at the point when you now withdraw, you know that at least you have tried to help these couples to resolve the issues because it's lonely out here. It is lonely. It's very, very lonely. Unlike in Nigeria, where a woman is having crisis, you can even say, okay, let her take her things and maybe travel home or travel to her sister's house to go and stay for 1 week. You can't get anything like that here. Who are you going to move? You move from the house to go and stay with temporarily. By the time you stay after 2, they will tell you to come and start slotting the light or paying for gas and electricity. So it's quite lonely, it's quite complicated. So whenever you get that call, a friend of yours is saying to you they're having a problem, or you're a man, your friend is calling you to say, I'm having a problem with my wife or something like that, listen to them and try and intervene so that they can resolve the issues informally. It's not time for you to now make a laughter or to make a jest out of the difficulties that couples are facing. This is the reason why a lot of marriages are failing in diaspora. There are no positive third party interventions. People are extremely selfish. They are not interested in the progress of the marriage of their siblings or the marriage of their friends. It's almost like competition. Okay, your own has failed, my own has not failed. Oh, thank God. Oh. Or my own has failed, your own must fail also. I'm not the only one that will be a divorcee. It is really, really a bad spirit. That's a lack of compassion, a lack of empathy. Even for those who their marriages have failed, they know the pain, but they are not showing that compassion. It's like almost like thinking that they are actually waiting for other people's marriages to fail also because theirs has also failed. It is horrible. The kind of unhealthy competition that is among Nigerians, Africans in diaspora, it is so diabolic. It is not a good thing. And this actually happens among those who call themselves Christians, unfortunately. It is unfortunate. Now, the question is, does compassion mean the same thing as sympathy? Does compassion mean the same thing as sympathy? Sympathy means you can understand what the people and what the person is feeling. When you sympathize with somebody, it means you can understand what the person is feeling. Compassion is the willingness to relieve the suffering of another. So you see the difference. A person calls you and they're telling you that they're having a crisis in their marriage. So you are sympathizing with them. Hey, yeah, is that what happened? Ah, why now? Why is this woman behaving like this now? Why is this man behaving like this now? Don't worry, I'll come and see you people tomorrow. I'll come to the house. If it means you traveling to go to the house to help that husband and wife, do it. I tell you, for one single marriage that you save, you may not come out you may not be seen as a hero. Maybe they will advertise you on CNN, but for one couple that you're able to intervene in their marriage crisis and you're able to save that marriage from crumbling, posterity will not forget you. Posterity will not, because you may be thinking that you are bringing that man and wife together, but it's deeper than that. You are saving the children of that family from crisis. You are saving the grandchildren of that family from crisis. You are doing a lot, is a lot. You might not see it physically or even immediately, So you can only do that when you have compassion. It's enough to sympathize, but you take additional steps to see to it that you help to resolve the problem by showing compassion. And compassion, the willingness to relieve the suffering of another by your immediate intervention to see how do we resolve this thing. It's not a matter of, oh, continue to pray, continue to pray. We as Africans, we have that thing. Oh, just continue to pray. I'm remembering you in my prayers. I'm praying for you. No. What steps have you taken to make sure that you intervene in the crisis going on between the couples? Because it's lonely out here. Sometimes when I get calls, I'm wondering if I don't respond. What if the next day you hear that the person has committed suicide? How will you feel? Will you be able to forgive yourself? I think I'm going to stop here now. I don't want this video to become too overwhelming. Compassion. Compassion. A must have. Compassion is the willingness to relieve the suffering of another. Empathy is feeling, being able to relate with that suffering. But you can feel that empathy and not do anything. But compassion takes the additional steps of making sure that you relieve the suffering of that person by your intervention, by giving a listening ear, by attending to the family home. By giving words of affirmation, by motivating them with your words, by saying, okay, you know what, over the phone, let's pray, over the phone. I'm coming tomorrow. I'm leaving everything I'm doing tomorrow. I'm coming to your house tomorrow. When was the last time you called that single mother of yours to say, you know what, let me help you for 1 week to help you do the school run. You've been doing it all these years. I'll help you with the school run for 1 week. Years ago, when my kids were in primary school, that's years ago. My kids are in university now. As I packed and I was taking my daughter, I saw this woman. She was very frail. In the cold winter, it actually snowed that day. So I started asking question, why is it that she doesn't have somebody that will help her? I think that woman is a Ghanaian woman. She was very unwell. Her husband had left her, but she still needed to bring her son to drop her son in school because there was no help. I bet when that woman was healthy, when she was strong, she was attending parties, she had friends, she had people they were doing as she would be doing all of the partying and eating and dancing and everything. But now that she was unwell, in the deep cold winter, she held on to her son. She brought her son, she was struggling, walking to school in the snow. She had nobody, as far as that period was concerned, to show her compassion, not from her friends, not from her relatives, not even from the community. It's unfortunate. May we be an epitome or the channel of empathy and compassion to others. And may the Lord continue to send good people to us, good friends, good family members, that when we pick up the phone to call them in our time of crisis, they will open up their doors of compassion and sympathy to embrace us in order to minimize our suffering. And so shall it be. In the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you very much for watching. If you've been affected by some of the topical issues I discussed here today, you can send me a direct message, or obviously if you have an experience that you want to share, always feel free to contact me. We can talk about it. We can share it also here on this platform so that other people can learn from these personal experiences. If you want it to be anonymous, I'm happy to put it out there anonymously so others can learn from your own experiences. And also, please subscribe to this channel, share this channel. If you've enjoyed this particular broadcast today, give me a thumbs up to encourage me to continue to bring obviously to bring up. I tell you, there are so many things we need to. Having practiced as a lawyer for a period of more than 28 years, there are so many things, so many resources, so many experiences and skills and expertise that I have to discuss on this platform to help people. But it is said that if we don't learn from other people's misfortunes to correct our ways, we might end up becoming part of the statistics. May that not be our portion in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you very much. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.